So let's look at step one of this two-step process. What we're going to do first is we're going to figure out whether a target number has a remainder or not. That's actually a little counterintuitive. When you do math in your head or on paper, when we did the number 71, we did out the math and we ended up with coming up with the adjusting number first of 9 and then a remainder. But it's actually quicker and easier in this memory system to figure out the remainder because you end up figuring out two pieces of information that you can use. One is the remainder and one is a relationship to the next step that will quickly tell you what the adjusting number is. This won't make sense till we go through it, so let's go through it. There are two rules you need to memorize for step one. They're very simple, and in the ebook I give a couple of ways to do that. You can obviously figure out what makes sense to you to memorize it, or like I said before, by the time you read through all this, you're going to probably know it anyhow. It's not that difficult. The first rule involves target numbers that begin with even numbers. And again, we're only interested in the remainder zero column. These are the signposts that we're going to create in your head. So target numbers that begin with even numbers, numbers in the 40s, the 60s, and the 80s. If they have a remainder of 0, they end in one of two ways. They either end in a 2 or a 6. That's it. 42, 46, 62, 66, 82, 86. Those are your only two options if it has a remainder of 0. For target numbers that begin with an odd number in the 30s, the 50s, the 70s, and the 90s, to have a remainder of 0, they have one of three endings: 0, 4, or 8. That's it. And we look 50, 54, 58, 70, 74, 78. Same thing for the 90s. That's it. Those are the two rules. Target numbers that begin with even numbers end in either 2 or 6. Target numbers that begin in odd numbers end in 0, 4, or 8. With that knowledge, you can quickly figure out whether a target number has a remainder, and if so, what that remainder is. And here's how you do it. Let's go through some of the examples in the ebook. Let's find them. First, number 70. I'm going to talk you through the thinking of step 1. 70 begins with an odd number. If it ends in 0, 4, or 8, it has no remainder. Well, 70 ends in 0, so it doesn't have a remainder, so we know it's no remainder. 72, doesn't take much to know that it's a 2 remainder, but let's still go through the steps. Odd number that it begins with, so if it ends in 0, 4, or 8, it has no remainder. Well, it ends in 2. That's 2 more than the 0, that 0 being our signpost. So we know it's a remainder 2. Just like if I were to ask you a target number of 36, and you go, well, that's only 2 more than 34, that doesn't require math. It just requires quick thinking that that's 2 more than where you know there's a 0 remainder. So let's go through the next number, 67. That begins with an even number. Remember the rule, even numbers end in either 2 or 6. Well, this ends in 7. It's 1 more than 6. So that's a remainder of 1. You get these two rules down in your head, and you can very quickly determine if there's a remainder number for the target number. But it also tells you one other key piece of information, which you're just going to know. In target numbers that are even, that begin with an even number, there are two options. Two signposts, the smaller one of 2 and the bigger one of 6. And in target numbers that begin with odd numbers, there are 3 signposts, 0, 4, and 8. It's important to remember which one you use, because that's going to guide you in the next step to quickly know which of the adjusting numbers you're going to use. It's going to have the same relationship. So let's move on to step 2 so you can see how to figure out the adjusting number and how this relationship between step 1 and step 2 makes this a very quick process.